AR-47. Always get that lock back on this gun. Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about AR-47 problems. Okay, so this here is an AR-15 with an upper on it that shoots 7.62 by 3.9. Okay, your classic AK-47 ammunition. So if you do a search online for AR-47 problems, you're going to find lots of videos. Okay, so the most common problem that you're going to have is cycling problems. You're going to find feeding problems, and you're going to find light primer strike problems. Okay, so these are the videos that are going to come up. So let's first talk about the cycling problems, because that's the one I had to really do the most research on to try and kind of figure out what was going on with that. So the most likely problem that you have is that you have the wrong gas block. Okay, it's because the 7.62 by 3.9 is basically a 30 caliber, which is also what your 300 blackout is, which is also what your 308 is, right? So these are all 30 calibers. They're all gonna have the barrel profiles, right? Barrel thicknesses of about the same size. And I actually tested it out. The gas block from a 308 will fit perfectly on this 7.62 by 3.9 barrel. The problem is that the porthole, okay, in that gas block is too small. Okay, so let's look at some numbers here. So I looked up the SAMI PSIs, right? The pressure that the round creates, and this is I didn't know this stuff. I had to actually research it, look it up. So if you look up the SAMI PSI, the 7.62 by 3.9 has 45,000 PSI, okay? Versus the 223, 556, 300 blackout has 55,000 PSI. So your 556 has 10,000 PSI more than your 7.62 by 3.9. So even though the 7.62 by 3.9 is a more powerful round, okay, that creates more recoil, this is not a blowback gun, okay? So even if the recoil is knocking you on your ass, that's not what's operating the gun, okay? What's making the gun work, okay? Unlike, let's say, a blowback, which is the recoil pushing the bolt back, right? The gas has to actually come up through the block, come down the tube, and push the bolt back, okay? So if there's not enough gas coming back, you're gonna have cycling problems. So if you have a 7.62 by 3.9 barrel, okay, but you have a 300 blackout gas block, it's going to have a smaller hole, all right? And because the 7.62 by 3.9 is creating less pressure, 45,000 PSI, it's not going to have enough pressure to reliably cycle your bolt. So, like I said, the AK round, 45K, 223, 556, 300 blackout, they're all about 55K, okay? I looked up the 308, okay, which is 62K, all right, 62,000 PSI, and I looked up the 7.62 by 5.1, which is 60K, okay? So between 223 and 556, there's no pressure difference, all right? The pressure difference that's usually quoted is they use different measurements, right? But if you stay under the same rule set, right? Let's say SAMI, right? So if you look up all these three things, all these different cartridges here, under SAMI PSI specifically, right? These are the numbers that you're gonna find, okay? So the 7.62 by 3.9, 45, 223, 556, 300, 55K, 308, 62K, 7.62 by 5.1, 60K. So there's actually a difference between 308 and 7.62 by 5.1, and from what I understand, most modern, even if you have a 7.62 by 5.1 barrel, like let's say in a SCAR, I mean, they're going to build the barrel so that it will handle the higher pressures. So you can shoot 308. So you have to just verify with the manufacturers. Okay. So this is the reason right here, right, why a lot of these AR-47s don't cycle, because they got the wrong gas block in there. Okay. So this upper here came from Davidson Defense, and they shipped it like in parts, right? It was a parts kit that I had to assemble the whole thing. So I got a chance to actually look at the porthole and measure it. So I just basically took a punches, and I took a 1/16, I took a 1/8 out, right? So I went to a 5.56 barrel, and the porthole is pretty close to 1/16, okay? When I looked at this 7.62 by 3.9, this is very close to 1/8. Okay, so it's almost double. Okay, so the porthole in the barrel on the 7.62 by 3.9 is almost twice as big, and then just looking at it, you can visually see that this barrel has a much bigger hole. Okay, now if you go to a 308, you're gonna see that it looks like a 1/16. It's gonna be a much smaller hole. So the people, because here's the thing, this is not like 2008 where like this is like these type of barrels are experimental, right? Like 2024 to 2025, they figured all this stuff out. Okay, so the people that make 7.62 by 3.9 barrels know what size porthole to put. Okay, likewise, the people that make the gas blocks know what size hole to make. Okay, they know, you know, that the 7.62 by 3.9 back gas block has to have a bigger hole in it, right, to let the gas up. So the problem that you're going to run into, right, is that the gas block, okay, of the 7.62 by 3.9, 308, 300 blackout, they all look the same. Like when I look at this, I couldn't tell the difference until I like looked inside and looked at the hole, and I could see that the hole in the gas block of the the hole in the gas block where the gas comes through is actually bigger. Okay, so this is going to be an assembly problem. Okay, this isn't a problem with the gun design. This is an assembly problem, because if you picture now a plant, right, or a factory where they're putting these guns together, right, they're going to have a whole bunch of these gas blocks that all look the same, right? So you're going to have, you know, one batch that comes in that will say 7.62 by 3.9, another one that will say 308, you know, or it might say 308 slash 300 AAC, because they're pretty close. So it is pretty easy, right, throughout the course of the day for these gas blocks, for one or two of these gas blocks to maybe get mixed up, and for a 308 or 300 gas block to end up in your 7.62 by 3.9. Okay, so that is the reason, like, why today you would get a 7.62 by 3.9 upper and it wouldn't cycle. You got the wrong gas block in there. Okay, so and you can see, and it's obvious when you look at the numbers, right? 45K versus 55K or 62K. That's the reason why you're gonna have cycling problems. So now the hole sizes that I mentioned are on a carbine size, right? Because the ones that I looked at, right, that I examined, carbine, right? You got 1/8 versus 1/16. Okay. Now the other thing, just to be aware of, is the dwell time is going to be a little bit different too. The dwell time is, okay, I got my gas block here. Okay, so when the bullet comes up and it reaches this point, right, that's when the gas comes up, and then the bullet comes out the barrel here. So between here and here, right, this is the time when your gas tube is pressurized. Right here, this is, so the 5.56 is coming out faster, so it's going to be it's going to be pressurized for a lesser time, versus the 7.62 by 3.9, which is going a little bit slower. It's going to be pressurized a little bit longer. Okay, so you know, this has already been factored into that equation. The people that designed the barrel and put drilled out the porthole, and the people that designed the gas block have already taken all this into account, tested it. So they're going to give you the right size. But I just thought it'd be you know, an interesting point is that the dwell time is going to be slightly different. Your 7.62 by 3.9 is going to be pressurized a little bit longer, like we're talking like fractions of a second, just because the bullet is coming a little bit slower out of the barrel. Okay. Other thing worth mentioning, the feed lips, right? The feed lips. I'm not going to bother to take a spot and show, but you guys know the feed lips and the barrel extension. There's I couldn't tell the difference because I compared the feed lips of this 7.62 to a 223 to a 300. I couldn't tell the difference, but it stands to reason that if the 30 caliber bullet is fatter, that there has to be a little bit more of an allowance. The feed lips have to be, or the feed ramps have to be a little bit wider, right? So it has like the M4 style feed ramps. So, but the feed ramp has to be a little bit, a tiny little bit wider. So I couldn't tell the difference. I mean, I trust that the people that made the barrel, right? Because the people that made the barrel are the people that put the barrel extension in there. I trust that they put the right one in there. Now, back maybe in 2008, 2010, they were just using 223 feed ramps. By now, I'm pretty sure that whatever barrel you get, if you get a 7.62 by 3.9 barrel, it's going to have the proper feed lips. Okay, but I couldn't tell the difference. But there has to be something there. If anything, if you're having an issue feeding without taking any material off, you just may want to polish, those feed lips. Okay, so that if you're having a feeding problem. Okay, so now the other thing is, let's talk about the magazine. So the magazines have to have this goofy little curve here, because now here's the issue with the 7.62 by 3.9 in an AR. The mag well here is straight, okay? Now, but if you start stacking 7.62 by 3.9 bullets, right? You start stacking them like this, you're going to see that they take an immediate curve, okay? So that's why your AK-47 magazine has an immediate curve to allow for the taper of the cases. Actually, let me go get an empty one. I should have pulled one out already. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, so because of that, the magazine has to be straight here, right? It has to be straight here in order to go into the magazine well. If you have a no tilt follower that's absolutely rigid and doesn't have a little bit of a tilt, you're gonna have problems from here to here. Okay, so these magazines here, and these are by ACS. Okay, Duramax is another company that makes these. Okay, these no tilt followers do actually have a little bit of a tilt. Okay, not a lot, but if you push it all the way down, you'll see that it goes down without tilting. But there's just a little bit of tilt. So that little bit of tilt is to accommodate this area right here. However, if you use a magazine that is completely tilting, right, what's going to happen is as you go lower, the follower is going to basically flip upside down, and the bullet's going to start pointing up because of the taper. So the magazine design has to be where it has a little bit of a tilt, but then not too much of a tilt. And then this way, the slight tilt accommodates this section here, and then down here starts taking that curve. Now these are the 20 round magazines. I did a bunch of research. Most people say that the 20 rounders work better. They've got no problems. Because I just got this upper and I've been working with it, I said, hey, you know what? Let me get the 20 rounders and test it out to eliminate, make sure that that's not an issue. And at this point, now that I see that this upper is working very reliable, now I'll also get like a 30 rounder. They also make a 28 rounder, and I can play around with that. But I wanted to kind of isolate it. I wanted to make sure that the upper is working great, before I got myself a 30 round magazine. Okay, so it works really good with these, right? So that's the issue with putting 7.62 in an AR. The fact that it has the cartridge has that taper, but the magazine well does not. Okay, so those are the two things that are kind of conflicting with each other. Now they also make ARs that will take AK magazines, okay? But then you gotta get a separate lower, and I didn't want to do that, okay? I didn't want to get another lower because I didn't know how much I was going to enjoy shooting this. So I just wanted to get an upper. It costs somewhere between, I mean, shipped, it was somewhere between, it'll be somewhere between 200 and 250, either from Davidson Defense or Bear Creek Arsenal, right? This one's from Davidson Defense. The one, this is the Uran upper. So with this one, it was basically a parts kit that I had to assemble it. If you go to Bear Creek, you will be able to buy it cheaper with fully assembled. So that's going to probably be the better route for most people. Now with Davidson Defense, they actually source the parts. So this has a Bear Creek Arsenal bolt carrier in here. Okay, so they use the so Davidson gets the bolt carrier from Bear Creek. So for most people, that's probably going to be the cheaper, better choice. Okay, so let's talk about firing pin. Okay, so this bolt will work with a standard AR-15 firing pin. However, in the past, people have reported lots of light primer strikes. So basically, they have the enhanced firing pins, right, for the 7.62x3.9. And when you buy the bolt from Bear Creek Arsenal, that's how they sell it, right? So make sure you have that enhanced firing pin, right, so that you don't get the light primer strikes. Okay? So I think that addresses all the issues with the AR-47. Okay, now who should get an AR-47? I think the people who I think this would be best for is if you already are into AKs, if you've already stockpiled thousands of rounds of AKs, of AK rounds. This is probably a good choice for you. I do enjoy. I'm finding that I do enjoy shooting this a little bit more. The recoil is like much lighter, right? Because you don't have that extra bolt mass moving back and forth. The ejection is like at 3 o'clock, almost 4 o'clock. So as far as it being gassed, it's like really at the bottom. So I was considering putting in an adjustable gas block, but it's really not necessary because if I try to tune it down a little bit, it's going to be undergassed. So unless you're going to put a suppressor on here, right, there's really no point in putting an adjustable gas block, because the way that it's basically the one from Davidson Defense is already shooting at like 3, almost 4 o'clock. Okay, so no need for that. So if you already have a stockpile of 7.62x3.9, yeah, this might be a good choice. It's fairly cheap, like somewhere between $200 and $250 just to get the upper. The benefit of this is that I can put a magnifier behind this. Right? That's not something I can do on my AKs, because on my AKs I have the red dot over the gas tube, which I find gives me the best accuracy. But I can't get a magnifier behind it. If I put one on the side, on a side mount, there's not enough room to have both the red dot and the magnifier. If I try to put an LPVO on it, it's like sits too high, right? And the other thing with the side mounts is if you push on them, they move. I mean, you can see that it moves. So it's just not really stable. The way I have gotten the best groups is with the red dot over the gas block. Okay? So this actually works a lot better. I've actually had to. Like I've only gone sub 2 MOA one time with my AK-47s. Okay, only one time. I will usually average between 2 and 3 inches. With this, I've already hit I've hit 2-inch groups at 100 yards several times already, and I got 1.5 inches, and I'm sure eventually I'll get down to 1 inch. It's just a matter of getting lucky with consistent ammunition, right? But this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. Let's fire off a couple of rounds. Oh, so the other thing with loading these, the mag got mostly preloaded. When you put one of the things to be aware of, like with the magazines, I've seen some that they have a little bit more metal here on the sides. So this one's cut a little further back. So less interference there. So that's something to look for. Okay, there's no need to have that extra metal on the sides here. And when you're feeding these, okay, make sure that the bullets are like clear them, because sometimes when you feed these, because remember that feed ramp has to have a little bit of a tilt. Like you see how that went in right there. If I push, I mean that's coming through, but if it's pointing down, it can hit the front here. So basically, what you want to do is as you load these up, push down in the back here, do one of these jobs over here. Unfortunately, like these steel ones are the best that we can get right now. I wish we could get like PMags, okay, or Lancers. They don't make them. The problem that you're gonna have with these is if you drop these on their feed lips, and those feed lips are gonna take a slight bend. You may not even be able to see it, but it'll take a slight bend, and then you're gonna have feeding problems. And that's the problem that we had with AR-15s before the PMag. Okay, these feed lips would get bent a little bit. At the time, we didn't realize that it was a problem with the magazines. Okay. But then when PMag came along, that basically perfected the AR-15, because once we got those reliable magazines. So this kind of takes us back to the era prior to the PMags, where if you drop this on the feed lips, you may not even notice the bend. But if you're having feeding problems, like if your gun's been working reliably for a while, and all of a sudden you start getting jams, yeah, it's the magazine. Those feed lips are now bent. Okay, shoot up a little bit here. So what you're going to do is you're going to pay attention to the ejection pattern, pay attention to the muzzle rise over here. Okay, how if the gun's moving back and forth. So and then you can compare that to like AK-47. One of the things I love about this is how easy it feeds. Okay, so I started off as an AK guy, and with all my experience, I will sometimes screw up the rock and lock. Okay, this nice and easy. And I've had no issues with lock back on the last round. It's like, all the rounds I've shot, every single time, it has locked back on the last round. So if you've got lots of 7.62 by 3.9 ammo, this might be something that you want to consider. There was a point where the 7.62 by 3.9 was like more expensive than 308 ammo, right? Which made no sense for people to go and buy it unless they already had it. I looked it up today. I went to ammoseek.com. That's where I usually go, and it's like somewhere between, the cheapest I found was like $8 for a box of 20 rounds. That was just one seller. Most of them are about $10 for a box of 20 rounds. So yeah, it's not the $5 per box that I used to get this stuff for. Like $5-6. But $10 per box, I mean, yeah, that's not bad. I mean, that's not bad at all. It's probably cheaper. It's probably, it might be a little bit cheaper than your 300 Blackout. It's probably in the same ballpark. I've seen the 300 Blackout like more averaging towards like $12, $13. So anyway, something for you guys to consider. Drop some comments. Talk to y'all soon.